Yo, everybody, welcome to Indy Handshake. I am Jesus Cruz, and today I am joined by SoCal legend, Kid Omega. How you doing, brother?
Hi, thanks. That's not a completely uh, overestimating my worth in SoCal.
Yeah, well, you were referred to that, I believe, in was it in Hoodslam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Anton Voorhees was on. My tag partner was on commentary, so he made sure to really put over my SoCal cred there.
Yeah, and we obviously you can see your mask behind you,
Yeah.
Omega mask. He was almost also the star of La Lucha Libre documentary. We'll get into that a little bit later. But first of all, I'd like to start these off with kind of like how we met, and my memory serves me right. I think I met you through John the Phenomenon. I think you guys might have been working in Santa Maria for Billy Blade, and I must have been at a show or something.
Yeah.
And then I remember, yeah.
Were you driving with him at the time? Because you were.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember seeing you around, and I think we more got to know each other like on AOL Instant Messenger back in those days.
Yep.
And then, but yeah, you used to come down and just check out the shows in Santa Maria.
Yeah. I know Billy was cool enough to let us film a lot of matches, and we did grab a lot of good stuff there. You know, that's how I met guys like you. And then when I started promoting, I'm like, oh shit, let me call up these guys. I remember them having some good chemistry with each other. Are you still cool with John?
Yeah. I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, but yeah, he's not one of the guys I had a falling out with.
Not just one. Yeah, no, he was cool. I actually just saw a post of his. I follow him on social media. Yeah. So talk to us about how you got started or interested in wrestling and Lucha Libre, I should say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, wrestling for me started when I was like, I think 4, probably in like 1988. I remember the first thing of wrestling I ever saw was the Mighty Hercules coming to the ring. And that was back when he had like a 20-foot long chain, and he would like swing it over his head and clear the ring, and everyone would have to powder out, otherwise they get beamed in the head with a chain.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was like wrestling was my favorite things before wrestling were like G.I. Joe and He-Man, and like wrestling is like just another flavor of those two things combined. It was really easy for me to get into it. And then the guys I really liked early on were like the really colorful characters, the face paint guys like Demolition, Ultimate Warrior. So like, and then when I first started getting into Lucha Libre, it was WCW. Seeing the guys that came in, the cruiserweights, and especially Ultimo Dragon. When I first saw him, that was the guy that I really clung to right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember you were a really big Toryumon fan.
Yeah. I was as soon as the internet came around, I was one of those early tape traders that would I got my hands on some Toryumon tapes, and that was my currency. That nobody had that stuff, and so I would trade that to get all the other stuff.
Nice. Yeah. Any specific site that you can remember, or?
Oh, man, no, all those they're long gone.
No. Yeah, no, that was cool. I got the tape trade, and mainly for Japanese.
Yeah.
You know, there was this one guy in Japan that wanted IWRG, Naucalpan stuff, and they just happened to air it here in the Bay Area too. So I would record them and send them. You know, we would like swap tapes. But speaking of internet and stuff like that, you also had probably the best website at one point, kidomega.com. It was just it was so cool, man.
Yeah, it was so much animation, and like it was all Flash, which means like I don't even think browsers are going to be able to run it anymore.
You'll get that plug-in.
Unfortunately, the website's gone. But yeah, it was like a lot of animations, and like if you hovered over certain clips, they would play the clip, and if you hovered over certain things, they would just drop, and it was very like Matrix inspired.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot. A lot of animation for a wrestler who was like less than 2 years in the business at the time.
I know, man, but that made you seem like, holy, this guy has this, you know, he's marketing himself so well. I believe you had the Mortal Kombat song in the background.
No, it was the Matrix fight song. Yeah.
Okay.
Minefields by Prodigy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, man. I mean, you had, you know, your best moves, even at 2 years in the business. These are my best moves.
Yeah. It was a lot of asking guys, hey, can you come and let me just do all my offense to you and just record it on some like digital camera that could only record 15 seconds at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I was wondering, like, why are they so short? You know,
Yeah.
like, maybe he wants to focus on this one move.
Yeah.
So how did you get started in the business? Like, how did you find a school? And
so I started in 2001. I was backyard wrestling at the time, and one of the guys that I backyard wrestled with, who would go on to become Caden Anthony, who still is wrestling today. He told me that he met some guy at KB Toys that was working there. He went to go buy a wrestling video game, and the guy was like, "Hey, you like pro wrestling? I got a school opening up at like inside of a gymnastics studio." And then so I went and checked it out, and this guy turned out to be Billy Blade, who was getting wrestling students by selling them video games at KB Toys.
Nice.
And yeah, it just I didn't plan on going to wrestling school that early. I was only 16 at the time.
Yeah.
I planned on going to either APW or Revolution Pro down in SoCal. Because I wanted to go do it, but I didn't expect to do it so early. But just fate kind of provided me with something to be able to pursue.
How old are you
now?
No, how old were you when you said when you started?
I was 16.
16. Okay.
Yeah, I was 16. The training wasn't the best for the time. Billy, I'll give him credit. He's a good trainer now, but maybe back then he should not have been training. My first match was 3 months of training.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was like, it was fast track. All of us only had 3 months of training. And
how'd that go?
Awful.
Who was all in it?
So I mean, there was about 6 students. Tsunami and Caden were both on the show, who both I think Tsunami still wrestles, but they wrestled for a long time. Billy Blade was, of course, in the main event. And then yeah, my first match could not be more tragic of a story. So 3 months of training, I was defending my Golden State title in my first match.
The title.
Yeah, defending my title in my first match. and the match was a tables match.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I think we went about 25-30.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And we planned, we talked about the match for months, or not months, but like weeks. We were like rehearsed every single thing except for the table spot, because we only had one table. And then it came time to go through the table, and we must have botched like 5 or 6 times before finally I was just like, let's just change it, because what it was going to be was, it was going to be an Icono slam off the top rope. So I was going to come off the top rope, he was going to be on the second, but we never actually practiced like climbing the ropes together.
Nah. And
so what happened was, like, we went up once and he fell off. All right, let's try again. Try and go up. Now I fell off. And that happened 6 times before finally I was like, I'll just do it off the second. We're not going to get up the top. Went through the table, finally broke. And then, yeah, that I got my worst match I ever had right out of the way.
That's a good way to look at it. What name were you using?
I was Kid Omega right from the start.
With the mask gimmick and everything?
No mask. So the name Kid Omega originally was because I had, ear to shoulder length hair. None of us had wrestling gear because only 3 months of training. No one even had any contacts in wrestling of who could make us gear. So all of us were basically in street clothes.
Yeah.
Which in 2000, 2001, if you look at ECW and WCW, there's a lot of guys wrestling in cargo pants at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So none of us really thought that was a problem. So I was wrestling in like jeans and a t-shirt. And I kind of realized I kind of looked like, like a Hardy Boy or Shannon Moore and Shane Helms. And before they were signed, they were in a promotion in North Carolina called Omega. Mm-hmm. So I was like, my idea was like, I'm the next one of them. So I'll just be the Kid Omega. So that was where that name originated from. And then years later, I just completely changed. Not a Hardy Boy at all for very long.
Yeah. So, you were obviously watching Attitude Era.
Yeah.
We know when the Hardy Boys were, because I remember when the Hardy Boys were just doing like little dark matches or little, Sunday night heats or what have you. But I was always like, damn, these guys are so good. Like,
Yep.
because they're doing a lot of lucha, they're doing a lot of high spots thing. Like, I was immediately drawn to them. And then when they finally made it into the Attitude Era with Lita and everybody, I'm like, oh yeah, these guys are. I fucking knew that these guys were going to get a push or something like that. So at the same time, you're watching, Attitude Era. Were you still watching like CMLL? Were you watching any Mexican wrestling?
Yeah, like right before. I mean, by 99, 2000, so a year or two before I started training, I was like anything wrestling related. I was putting my eyes on. I was already tape trading. I was already following Toryumon. I was always like the guy. When I started wrestling, I was always the guy trying to like talk about Toryumon, but like no one would ever listen to me because it's like, that's not on TV. I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so then what that meant was I could steal a lot of the moves from Toryumon, and no one would know where I got it from. But yeah, I watched a lot of Toryumon, which and heavily lucha influenced, and then I'd watch anything that's on Telemundo, AAA, CMLL. I didn't speak the language, so I never knew. They would put the shows back to back, and I never knew when one show started and one show ended.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's cool, man. So you were into Lucha Libre. Who were some of your influences from Lucha?
From Lucha,
and Toryumon.
Yeah. So Ultimo Dragon was always like the top guy. I had a martial arts background before getting into wrestling, so that was easy for me to kind of like see myself as in that kind of role, throwing the kicks with the lucha style arm drags. And but in Mexico, the guys I really liked watching were Ultimo Guerrero, Máscara Sagrada, and Octagon. Those were the guys that I always like when they were on TV. I paid extra attention.
Okay. So I know that you also went to train more Lucha Libre down south at WPW, correct?
Yeah.
With El Genio Martin Marin. And what made you decide to go to LA, and how far were you into after you debuted? How far were you into?
Yeah. So I moved to SoCal after I had been training for, it was almost 2 years. I was about 2 years in, but before that, Martin was coming up and helping provide talent for our shows to kind of bolster our roster. And then and he would do seminars with us, and I always really liked his seminars. I liked the style of training that he was doing, and he was always showing us new things that I had never seen and never really got to do, and stuff that I could use right away. And so I was immediately clinging to like, I really like doing this kind of stuff. And then in December of 2002, he was planning a trip to go to Mexico City, and he contacted me. He was like, "Hey, I got some spots open. If you want to join us for this trip to Mexico City, we're gonna go train at Ultimo Dragon's gym. I know you're a mark for him, so you can go and join us on the trip." And that trip completely changed my life. I got to train at the Ultimo Dragon gym, got to work at Oriental's facility in Mexico City for it was a AAA show, and then I got to work a little street show for CMLL, all in the same week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Oriental spot, is that what they call the Budokan, the Mexican Budokan?
Budokan, yeah, Arena Budokan.
So you got to work there.
Yeah.
Nice. I recently saw a documentary on the arena. I don't know if you got a chance to check it out.
Oh.
But it has, Oriental and all his sisters,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's really cool. I'll burn you one. I'll let you borrow. It's really cool. So you're training there, and you actually got to. Is that the match that you uploaded recently?
Yeah, I uploaded pretty. Yeah, I didn't even know I had the tape. I was just going through my VHS tapes. I was like, I gotta digitize these, and then I just was like, what's this tape that's not labeled? And I put it on, and it's the entire Toryumon show, like the Young Dragons Cup from 2002. I wasn't even supposed to be in the show. We drove 50 hours from LA to Mexico City in a van. I slept on the floor pretty much the entire way there. And I was like so excited. I was like, I'm gonna go train at Ultimo Dragons, and then he said he was gonna put us on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get there, and Martin was like, I'm not really confident in you guys putting on a match. I haven't seen a lot of you guys to say that like I want to put my name behind you guys.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give you guys a match. And so like immediately I was deflated. I was like, I drove all the way here for a chance to be here.
Yeah.
And then Ultimo came in and he was like, no, put them in a dark match. I'll just put them on before the show starts. And then as people are coming in, put them on. But of course it's a lucha show. So, you know, the show didn't start on time. So everybody's already sitting there.
Yeah.
So I got to open the show and have a tag match.
Nice.
And yeah, it was cool because the athletic commission came in and was like, hey, these guys aren't licensed. So they can't be on the show. And Ultimo was just like, oh, fuck you guys, get out of here. This is my show, not your show. Get out of here. So Ultimo like paid the fines for us to work.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Any fun stories from that road trip?
Yeah. I think the big thing that I got out of it was really seeing the Japanese Kohai Senpai relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like those guys all treated Ultimo like he was a king. Like I never saw Ultimo touch a door handle the entire time I was there. He always had someone opening a door for him, always had someone carrying his bags. He didn't even tie his shoes when he was like wrestling. Like he had someone like lacing up his boots and lacing up his wrist guards. Mm-hmm. And there was one of the guys that was there who would go on to become El Blazer, and I think he wrestled in AAA as Shugi-san. He was like the youngest one there, and his job there was to open the door whenever someone rang the doorbell. And people were coming in and out all night, and he had to like kick off his shoes and like run down these stairs, and like the stairs were like super short and like made out of like terracotta, so super slippery, and he just had to bolt himself down up and down the stairs. And while we were there, we got them food that they weren't allowed to eat. So every time someone rang the doorbell, he had to like hide his food underneath the couch, run up and down the stairs, and every time he was like so scared because he thought it was going to be Ultimo, and like who like would have been pissed that he's like eating tortas that we got him. But he because they weren't allowed to eat bread. Yeah. So we got him tortas, and like he's eating the bread because he doesn't want to be a bad like guest. Like we're his guests, so and he doesn't want to like be rude to us. But at the same time, he's afraid of Ultimo coming and getting in trouble. So he didn't know what to do. So like he's like eating like scared the whole time, and then a doorbell rings, he stuffs it on the couch, runs down the stairs, and like every time, like the fifth or sixth time it happened, we all started going like, it's Ultimo, and like he started like getting really scared.
Just fucking with them.
Yeah.
That's funny. Right now that you mentioned about Ultimo Dragon, opening a door or getting his boots laced, I just picture the scene from Ramses, like having a guy massage him, like Ultimo's number one, his muscles are number one.
It's pretty much like that, but like he like had an entire promotion all creating him like that, like treating him like that.
And his students, if not exclusively, were all Japanese, right?
Yeah, at the time for sure. And they weren't even really his students. They were just like they called him the principal of the school. He wasn't actually the teacher. It was Skyday was the teacher that was actually doing all the actual hands-on training. So
did you meet Skyday back then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to train with him a few times there.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know that. I thought the first time that you met him was up here when we had that seminar.
No. Yeah, I met him a few times before that.
Oh, okay, cool. How was it working with him? Ended up tagging with him at one of our shows.
Yeah, that was a trip, honestly. Like you had me come back as Kid Omega because I had stopped doing the gimmick for 5 or 6 years at that point.
Yeah.
So you asked me to come and rehash the gimmick, and I was like,
"You didn't, man. We got to sell those T-shirts."
Man, I was happy to do it, and then when you told me that I was going to get the team with Skyday, I was like, man, that's like it's a dream come true for me because yeah, like I said, that trip changed my life. Training with him completely turned what I knew about the way I wanted to wrestle.
Yeah.
and so getting to team with him was a really cool experience.
Yeah, and I remember when the Twins were doing a promo, they were naming all their opponents because I think it was like a four tag team championship, and it was the Twins, the Pinoys, Jason Styles and R2 Cool, and then Kid Omega and Skyday, like the established tag team of Kid Omega and Skyday. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was a fun match from what I remember. But going back to WPW, now let's talk about the documentary that you were almost in. I just find it funny. How did this? So this documentary, if you haven't seen it, it's based off of WPW, El Genio training guys like Little Cholo and Silver Tiger and guys like that. But it also features Lucha Vavoom's first show and how that came about and all the drama that went behind it. So you were a part of that, of the camp, right, when they were filming?
Yeah, the filming of that was actually they were filming that right before we actually left for Mexico. So it was like right at that time. But so like if you watch that film, I am like to the left of the camera a lot. I am almost in the shot about 100 times in that film. Yeah. I think I'm only in it like in one scene, and I'm like holding a ring post, like totally helping, just holding the ring post.
Yeah, and I just always thought that was hilarious. Like this whole documentary, and you just happen to miss the camera every time.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Big Ugly and Beyond the Man, where
exactly
made it in or something like that. Going back to your gimmick, to the Kid Omega gimmick, how did you come up with the design for the mask and the gear itself? What inspired you?
Yeah, so I was wrestling. So I evolved out of the Hardy Boy look a little bit. At one point, I was wearing like white karate pants and a shiny belt, and it was actually Vic Grimes who suggested, he's like, like when you come out there, you lose the crowd as soon as they see you, because they don't see a wrestler come through the curtain. They see a little kid who's going to go play wrestling. And he was right. Like I was like, every time I came to that curtain, I was already doing an uphill battle, because no one thought that I looked like a fighter. No one thought that I looked like I could handle myself in a fight. And so he's like, you should get like a Hayabusa mask so that your hair can be out, because that's a good look. Your hair's good. And then you should get like something like a chest protector, like what Super Dragon wears. Get something like that, because it'll make you look bigger and people will take you more seriously. And so I just immediately started like drawing up designs and stuff. And I drew a chest protector that was kind of my inspiration for that was the Ginyu Force from Dragon Ball Z. And it was like shoulder pads that the Saiyans wore. And then the mask, I took his advice pretty literally. I drew up a little mask that was only the bottom half of the Hayabusa mask. And then
now it's called the COVID cut.
Yeah, it looks, everyone out there is cosplaying as me right now. Yeah. It was pretty much that. It was and I got that in Mexico. I made the design that I gave them and the design that I got didn't really match. The shoulder pad was supposed to look kind of like a karate gi mixed with like body armor, and instead and then it was like down the sides, it was going to be in Japanese, it was going to say Omega, but instead of having like Omega written twice on the sides, he just wrote it really big across the chest, and then he got the letters wrong.
Oh shit.
The middle letter was like upside down and backwards, and then the last letter was instead of being a sound, it was a oo sound. So the chest actually said Omegu. So every time I ever like saw someone who could read Japanese, they would always look at me like, that's not what that says.
That's funny.
And then the mask was like, that was such a pain to have. That the half mask, there was nothing supporting it in the back. So every time I wrestled, if you ever saw me wrestle with that half mask, it would always fall in the back, and it was just always like barely hanging on. I was always messing with it. And then I eventually, around this time, I was also, every time I came out, people were always like, oh, it's a Power Ranger. And I was always getting called Power Ranger all the time.
That was one of my questions. How many times have you been called the Power Ranger?
Yeah. And eventually, I was just like, advice that I got very early on was always tell the most obvious story. And it's like, if you look like a Power Ranger, just be a Power Ranger. So my brother designed me a mask, and it was very Power Ranger inspired. And so it was a full mask now, so I could stop fighting with my mask every time I wrestled. And then and it had like a black visor. It's actually, yeah, it's that mask right there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I eventually got that made. That mask was made by Super Kendo. He made it, and yeah, as soon as I got that, it like that mask kind of completed my look, and it really, and then it changed my entire gimmick.
All right, so I forgot to change the view, and I just noticed that halfway through the interview. So now this is the correct view. So that's how it goes down here at Indy Handshake. So you're still in SoCal.
Yeah.
Since we're still talking about SoCal, tell me your most memorable match in SoCal that you've had.
Man, yeah, there's a lot. Like once I was wrestling for Martin for a little while, he started putting me with like a lot of big names, Mexican names. I got to work Vampiro, the match. That match is probably my biggest match I had there, because it was my first match turning heel, first time working Rudo, and I was really excited to do it. Because I've been technical, getting my ass kicked for years at that point, and I was ready to finally get that heel heat that I wanted. And it was I can't remember who my partners were, but I was wrestling Vampiro, Silver Tiger, and Super Kendo. So like Super Kendo was one of my favorite guys to watch in Michinoku when I was tape trading. So getting to work with him was awesome. And then Vampiro, when he got there, he looked at me and he looked at my two partners who were like, these two older, kind of fat lucha guys. And he's like, he looked at them, looked at me, and he's like, I'm gonna do everything with you. You didn't want. He's like, don't let those guys touch me. And so I got to do like everything in that 6-man I did was with Vampiro, who just proceeded to beat the shit out of me. I called a spot with him early on. I was like, I do one of these kicks that I do, I actually got from you. So maybe it'd be cool if I could do that kick to you and you could just like look at me, get pissed off, and then you just blast me with that kick back. And he was like, I like that, but I don't know if I want to do that today. I want to put you over a little bit stronger than that. And I was like, oh, cool. That's cool. I respect that. Mm-hmm. So then in the match, I whipped him off. I threw that kick at him and he took it and he bumped out. And he looked at me like pissed off. And I didn't really know what he did. And he pulls me out of the ring, snapmares me, and proceeds to kick me harder than I've ever been kicked in my life.
Yeah.
It wasn't until like later that he wasn't saying he didn't want to like do that spot. He didn't want me to do his kick either.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. So he was trying to do something else entirely.
Yeah, he didn't want to sell his own kick. It was the 360 kick like that Kofi does.
Yeah, I remember he did that. Yeah. Going back to Kendo, I think we've talked about this before, but I think Kendo was one of the first guys that brought Lucha over to Japan, right? Or
yeah, he was. Yeah, him and like Gran Hamada was like the kind of guy that kind of combined the styles, and he was one of those guys that Hamada would bring in, and he was like I think he said he had over 100 tours in Japan.
Yeah.
For UWA and then Michinoku Pro.
Yeah, no, I used to watch a lot of his matches. One of my favorites is that 6-man they had at ECW. When it was all the Michinoku guys.
Yeah.
It was like Dick Togo, Hamada. Pretty sure Michinoku was in there.
Yeah. Taka, and it was great. Sasuke.
Yeah. I think Naniwa too, right?
I think so.
Yeah, no, those are good times, man. I used to love watching ECW. That's how I got into ECW, because they started using, like Ray and Nicho in them.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else from SoCal that you want to touch before we talk about you moving up here to Northern California?
I could tell my embarrassing Chippy Sanchez story.
Oh yeah, Chippy Sanchez.
Yeah. So Chippy Sanchez was a guy that I went to Mexico with, and the reason why he was called Chippy was because all of his front teeth were knocked out, and we didn't really know like much about him. Like we knew that he was like a hardcore like gangster that used to runs through some rough crowds before getting into wrestling, and he always said that like wrestling was pretty much the only thing keeping him out of jail.
Yeah.
It wasn't years later that we found out that the reason why he got his teeth knocked out was because his dad hit him in the face with a shotgun.
Oh fuck.
which made us calling him Chippy Sanchez for all those years feel a lot worse. But
so the name came from you guys. It wasn't like a street name.
No, it came from us. Like, it was just like, oh, your teeth are all fucked up. Your name's Chippy. But then, like in 2010, he got arrested for being a MySpace predator.
Yeah,
and,
I remember that.
Yeah, so he was in the news, and horrible story, and really, but the story in I think it was the OC Weekly, was like, pro wrestler, / MySpace predator given 15 years in jail. And the picture that he used was a picture of him doing a dive out over the top rope, and it was me catching him. But when you that's when you click on the article, the thumbnail with that headline is just a picture of me.
Oh, fuck.
So I just see that, and I'm like, oh shit, like what the
Were you getting calls like, what the fuck, Shane?
No, luckily no. Luckily I was in a mask, and I'm hidden.
Yeah. Holy shit, that's funny, dude. Yeah, I do remember when all that went down. Because I knew Chippy. He actually worked. He only worked one of my shows up here. But yeah, that was crazy when I saw that story.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you were on the thumbnail. No, that's funny.
Yeah, I can send you that the thumbnail.
Yeah, send it to me. So how did you decide to come to NorCal, and where did you start working up here?
Yeah. So in 2005, I was just I was working everywhere. I was working for the Young Bucks promotion, High Risk Wrestling, on Thursdays. I was working, inland on Fridays. I would drive up to either Bakersfield or Hayward to work APW, and then I would work WPW on every Sunday. So like my schedule was like pretty full most weekends, and then I was always going back and forth, either working, like some days I'm working Lucha, some days I'm working American. It was always I was always doing different things every time. But in SoCal, I was just having a hard time, like really standing out, because I just looked like a dozen other guys down there. But when I came to NorCal, I always felt like I stood out a lot more. I was one of the only masked guys. Definitely was the only one who had gear that looked like mine. And I just kind of enjoyed working APW, because at that time, APW was really a school first. So even though you're doing shows, you come back after your match, and there's like a bunch of guys that have a lot of experience who are all critiquing things that you did well, things that you did wrong. And that was the kind of thing that I really liked. I liked being able to work with guys who can tell me what I'm doing wrong. I get so sick of just working in places where you just get a pat on the back saying, great job, when I'm like, I know it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
So, I really liked working APW, and then that kind of, that slowly made me wanting to move to this area so that that's not a 12-hour drive.
Yeah. Who were the trainers when you were there?
At APW?
Yeah.
It was mostly, when I first started, I think Robert Thompson was still there. And then JJ Perez was the guy that was there a lot.
Okay.
And it was also just anyone on the roster. It was also like James Watkins, Larry Blackwell, and then Gabe and Roland will also give tips too. Okay.
And what's one of your most memorable matches up here in NorCal? Well, let's say APW, because we haven't talked about Hoodslam yet. So let's say in APW. In APW,
in APW, I one of the first times that really got me over there in a way that like they're like, because they were bringing me in every once in a while, but not really consistently. But then when it was both like something that like a lot of people remembered, and I also got yelled at for it, was it was a 40-man battle royal. It was I want to say it was like APW's like 10 or 20 year anniversary show, and they wanted Robert Thompson to do like the Iron Man. He started number 1 and he makes it all the way to the end. And I think it was also the night he retired as well. But he he wanted to they wanted this moment where he just gives like 5 different people a finisher all in a row, and I was one of those 5.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives me like a running fire thunder pile driver, like a sit out tombstone. And everyone said it looked like I died. Like it just drilled me right on my head. And then it was going to be like, there was going to be like some downtime and wait for a thing. And so rather than, and this is, I should not have done this, but I did it anyway. Rather than just walk backstage and go through the curtain, there's a big open garage. I stumble through the crowd and I just walk down the street stumbling like I'm just completely delirious of where I am. Some of the students come chasing down after me, trying to help me. Like they think I'm actually hurt. Like I don't understand. Like, but I'm just like walking down the street, stumbling, and then I get to the back, and then one of the bookers starts yelling at me, saying I'm pulling attention away. Although I was behind everybody, I don't think I was actually pulling any attention away.
Yeah.
But then, but that, and just like me introducing comedy wrestling, and I was able to provide another thing that no one else is willing to do.
Yeah. No, you did. I remember watching a couple of your matches. You did it very well. I know you guys had a lot of fun when you wrestled at East Bay Pro. I think you guys had like a hot lava match or some shit.
Got yelled at for that too.
Yeah.
Every time I do something really memorable, I get yelled at a little bit.
Hey, that means you're doing something good, man.
I guess so.
So you also lost your mask at APW.
I did, yeah.
Who was it against, and how was that match?
Yeah. So I was I was at APW at that point I was wrestling for them for about 6 years, and I was just kind of hovering in the same spot, just like stick me with a random tag partner and do random tag matches. But I had never wrestled for any of their singles titles, and I really wanted to like know what I could do. And the bookers always said that it's hard to that mask is completely covering your face. It's hard to get too much emotion out of you. And I was just kind of I wanted it to evolve a little bit. So I was ready to see what wrestling without the mask would be like. And at the time, Timothy Thatcher was the internet champion, and he was a guy that I loved watching. I thought he was doing that European style, and he was just someone I really liked watching. And I knew that I thought that me doing that Mexican Iave style with the British King of Sports style, I thought that those two mixing together would kind of create an interesting dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew and I know that what draws people into wrestling is stakes. And if there's no stakes in a match, it's just a collection of moves and maybe they'll like it. But if there's stakes to the match,
yeah,
anyone can get involved. It can get more interested into it. And so I pitched that I put my mask on the line for the internet title. And Timothy Thatcher is a guy who I respected, and I'd be happy to, if he took my mask, I'd be happy that he'd be the one to do it.
Mm.
And we had a cool match. There was a hype video for it that Dave Dutra made. I think I'm not sure. Yeah, Dave Dutra was already wrestling, but yeah, he made the hype video for it, and that elevated the match even more because in the video we already told you the story that we were going to tell in the match. And I love that match.
Cool. What year was that?
That was in 2009.
2009. Okay. Yeah, I vaguely remember it, but yeah, I don't remember you losing your mask. I just thought you started working without a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, I must have. I don't know. I must have missed it. There was a couple of years that I kind of.
I mean, the business was so small. I mean, it's I think 100 people in the crowd.
Yeah, I think that was at the time that APW was only doing garage shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also the time nobody's drawing more than 100.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, and of course you worked my CALIFA shows.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those were always good. Those were cool.
Yeah. You put me up a team with Quicksilver and Scorpio Sky.
Yep, on my first show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Quicksilver, you and Scorpio versus John, American Wild Child, and a guy named Vega.
Yep.
I think they just named him Vega that day. I don't think he had a name yet.
No, he wrestles for AAA under a different name. I don't know what it is though.
Oh, he works now for AAA?
Yeah, or he did for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, he also refed the main event because he's the only one that spoke Spanish, like only ref, so you can. It didn't matter because both guys spoke Spanish. I don't know what the logic between that, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a really fun show, man. And then
Yeah.
the shows we did in San Jose were cool, and I think you worked with Sheik on those.
Yeah.
And a couple of
that's where I met Sheik.
Pro Wrestling Iron match wrestlers were in that match too. Oh, I didn't know that's where you met Sheik.
Yeah, it was the first time. Yeah, there's a lot of people in NorCal that I met through your shows that because I was still in SoCal at that time.
Yeah.
So wrestling for you was like my first venture outside of APW. Yeah. And NorCal wrestling was so isolated back then that like no one wrestled for shows outside of their own company.
Oh yeah, no, it was very territorial. Like, you don't work for them, you'll get in trouble. As I just mentioned this in another podcast, but the only guys that were able to mix people were guys that had nothing to do with either APW or BTW, whatever. Like, do you know a guy named Icebox? He used to be a Western Players manager. Yeah. He would do shows in Oakland, and he didn't give a fuck. He's like, all right, Shane Cody and Lamper for Big Time Wrestling, Charlie France and Dan Lee from APW. And we're over here like, whoa, because we know all the politics going around. It's like, oh, shit, they're going to work each other. You know, it was it was an interesting time. So, you know, now that we talked about Sheik, how did you start working with Hoodslam?
Yeah, it was about 2011 was when I first went to a Hoodslam show. Because I heard about it, and I always heard like the people that worked Hoodslam joking about what happened at Hoodslam, and it always just sounded like, you know, just a bunch of guys fucking around and not really taking it seriously. Mm-hmm. But and every time I ever heard anyone say anything about what happened at Hoodslam, it was just like it wasn't like they were taking it seriously at all. And so when I went there, I was like, you guys are really underselling how good like these shows are. Like, it's not just like goofing around and just not caring. And so I was like, oh man, I got to figure out how I can become a part of this. Mm-hmm. So
sorry to interrupt you. Was this when they were in the Victory Warehouse?
No, they were already in the Metro. Okay. When I was actually considering working with them.
Okay.
And so I started pitching all these like terrible gimmick ideas to Sheik, and Sheik was just like, I don't know. And then I was just like, what about Scorpion from Mortal Kombat? Mm-hmm. I think Larry Blackwell actually suggested that to me. He's like, you know, there's no Mortal Kombat characters yet other than Johnny Cage. You could do that. And I was like, that'd be cool. And then I got like some cool custom Scorpion gear made, and then I showed a picture of it to Sheik, and she was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna put you in the main event.
Nice.
Yeah, and so I debuted at their 2-year anniversary show in the main event.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, how long did you do Scorpion for? Because I know then you did the Indy Handshake.
Yeah. So I did Scorpion full time for about 3 years. Trying to find ways to make that character interesting. Because I did the feud with Johnny Cage, I did a feud with Sub-Zero, and then afterwards I was like, what can we do more with Scorpion? And because I just inherently cannot stay too far away from comedy, I started making Scorpion into a comedy character. Mm-hmm. And so I started doing this character where I did Scorpion dressed up as different characters every month. So it started off as like Scorpion dressed as Doug Funny from Doug. Mm-hmm. Or actually, it was dressed as Quail Man. And then I would be Scorpion dressed as Cammy from Street Fighter 2. So every month I was just like doing something differently. Scorpion dressed as David Bowie from Labyrinth. Mm-hmm. Is one of my favorite ones to do. And then eventually I was just like, this is getting expensive coming up with gear every single month.
Yeah.
And it was about that same time as when I started doing the enhancement gimmick on student shows.
And how did the enhancement gimmick come about?
It yeah, I was training. I was helping train at Stoner Youth. They had a really good first group of students, and I was like coming there and helping them out. And then Stoner Youth was going to start doing shows every month, and I was like, I'd love to be on these shows and just kind of like give like little matches to I want to give good matches to them. And then just as a joke, like they were like, oh, you could be E enhancement. And then I added the talent onto the front of that. So I was the talent E enhancement. It was supposed to be just like a jobber gimmick. It wasn't supposed to be like taken seriously.
Yeah.
But then like they're like, oh, we're gonna make you be like our top students. You're our number one student. And so it was like so the joke was, even though at that time I probably had 15 years experience, I was a rookie sensation.
And SoCal legend.
But it was SoCal legend and a rookie sensation. But it was just a way to be like, yeah, this is how good you could be if you come train here. Look how good he is already. Only had 2 matches already. And then and she just liked the gimmick, and he liked the character, and he's like, I like you wrestling this way. I want you to keep wrestling as a real wrestler and not just do comedy. So then started putting me on to Hoodslam pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then Sheik had me I was Sheik's protege. And then we started teaming, and that's was kind of how we started the Caution tag team. And then we did that for the next 4 years.
And also, as the enhancement, you did have some iconic entrance theme songs.
Yeah.
I think you used Seal's "Kiss from a Rose," right?
Yeah, that was my main theme, was "Kiss from a Rose." I when I first started doing it, I was like, I'm gonna come out to like what my idea was, like, just to come out to 90s songs that you forgot about. So it was going to be like a lot of Third Eye Blind, a lot of Smash Mouth, Sade. And, but then like the second or third time I came out to Kiss from a Rose, and then the entire audience was just singing along with it right away. And I was like, there's something here.
Won't you tell me, is that healthy, baby? Did you know that when it snows, my eyes become large and the light that you shine can't be seen? Baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels, yeah.
Like, there's something better than changing my theme song so when you hear a random song, you don't know who's coming out. Like, this could be my song. And it just goes back to like what Vic Grimes said right away. Like, when you come to that curtain, you want that crowd to be on your side already.
Yeah.
You come out to Kiss from a Rose and have the entire audience singing your theme song.
Yeah.
You won the crowd before you even locked up.
Even before the show, because I do remember you posting a video of you outside with the crowd singing it. Right? Or am I tripping?
I would I was trying to generate I was just trying to like figure out how to get this character over, because the theme song was cool, matches were fine, but like I was like having trouble. Like I would walk outside and people like, oh, you were the banana, right? And I was like, no, I wasn't the banana. I'm like, if people like, nobody remembered who I was, but they were like, I saw you wrestle, but I don't remember what you were.
Yeah.
It's part of the problem of wrestling in such a smoke-filled bar. Yeah. That people forget pretty quickly. So yeah. I was like, I'll come out and I'll do a little interview segment with the crowd. And I started interviewing the audience, and that became the talent show. That's right. Yeah.
I do remember seeing those clips. How was working in Hoodslam? Like, how was the locker room? How was how was the crowd different from, say, a WPW or APW or?
Yeah. Oh man, I loved the Hoods. First time I wrestled for Hoodslam, I was just like instantly hooked. They were like, because the crowd is like right on the ring, and they're like pounding on the ring in excitement, and there's just so much energy, much more energy when they're that close to you. Mm-hmm. It creates, you kind of have to change the way you wrestle. You can't be calling spots in the ring if the crowd's just as close as your opponent is. Yeah. But yeah, I loved working for the Hoodslam crowd. I kind of grew to kind of be disenchanted with or disenfranchised from the American audience, because I felt like there was just so much just snarky comments all the time. It just felt like they were just like waiting for someone to kind of slip just to chant "you fucked up,"
Yeah.
or just like make fun of something that isn't at all related to what is happening in the match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember watching, now that I'm capturing all these tapes, just seeing how the crowds have changed, you know. There's a show that I have from like up in Sacramento or whatever, and the crowd is just brutal, dude.
Yeah.
It's fucking, Rocky, you got AIDS, nah, or whatever. He's like, dude, where did this come from?
Like, it's just like they paid $10 just so that they can yell at people and not get punched for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about wrestling?
What about the difference between wrestling an American crowd and a lucha crowd?
Oh man,
what do you prefer? Or
I mean, I guess the real answer is whichever one's more passionate. Because I mean, you wrestle for a dead crowd feels the same no matter what language they speak.
Yeah.
But
yeah, true.
But yeah, I guess if they're both passionate, give me that lucha passionate crowd. There's just like a difference in that, like, you know, a lucha crowd isn't just waiting for something cool to happen to react to. Like there's like this constant stream of just like excitement through the whole match. I mean, hopefully they don't have those horns, but
Oh.
But yeah, I long for wrestling in front of a lucha grandma who's hitting me with her purse again.
Yeah. Oh my God,
yeah.
Dude, the horns or the snare drums, when they bring an actual snare drum, have you had those? Like boom, ba, boom, the whole freaking show. I remember seeing a show in the New Japan LA dojo, and it was like Durango Kid, who's awesome. I've always been a fan of his, the way he works. Chilango, all those guys are wrestling. Top of my head, I don't remember what Japanese wrestlers, but this is a really good match. And there's a guy in the crowd just doom, ga, the whole fucking time. And I'm taping this match, so the whole time I'm just like, fuck, dude, come on.
There's no way that he's even watching the show. He is just.
Oh yeah, no, he was
just
part of it.
Hit a drum.
Exactly, and which is fine too, because it adds to the, you know. I don't know. That's the show, guys. So what? Tell us one of your favorite road stories. I know you talked about earlier driving down to Mexico, but is there another story that comes up? Pops up in your mind?
You know, nothing. Trying to, you know, one thing that when I was driving to APW, I would drive from Huntington Beach, where I lived, to Bakersfield, and then I would meet like a group of guys that lived in Bakersfield, and then they would drive me the rest of the way. And like the group of guys that I drove with there was like my favorite group of people to travel with. It was guys like Tommy Angels, Sean Pulver, and Thor, the All-American Thor, and Kayu Katsuki, my tag partner at the time. And I just remember like one time, nothing happened, absolutely nothing happened, and then like Thor just like. He's like, man, I can't believe this trip. And like nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. And he was like acting like this trip was a big ordeal. But I remember that on that drive to the 5, you drive by like the McClintock Ranch, or the ranch.
Harris Ranch,
that's right. Yeah. And every single time, I don't know, they never sold it. They never acted like it wasn't what they were doing, but they would always roll down their windows during that part. Every single time. And I never got an explanation of why they did it or like who they're trying to mess with. Because it's kamikaze. It's like you're ribbing yourself.
Yeah. The smell, man.
Yeah.
And I stayed at that hotel one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was horrible. I was like on a trip for work, and I also covered a lot of MMA shows that were just past that at a place called Lemoore. And Lamar wasn't bad, but that smell and that when you pass right there is fucking unforgiving. What about a favorite story about a shady promoter or the funniest excuse of not getting paid?
Well, it's one time I worked CALIFA.
Oh shit!
I mean, the shadiest promoter I ever worked with would definitely be Joe Cantrell, who went on to be internet famous a couple years later because he was the guy that got banned from Walmart for life. That
I don't know if I know this. I need to look this up now. Joe Cantrell.
Joe Cantrell, and then he was on Tosh.0 and he got a web redemption for it.
Oh shit!
Yeah, but like everyone was like on this guy's side. Like everyone was acting like, oh man, it was messed up that you got banned from Walmart just for complaining about coupons. I only dealt with this guy for less than 6 months. He was bringing me in, and he was like, he had this like horrible feud with Jesse Hernandez, and everybody was like, don't work for this guy, you know, show loyalty to Jesse Hernandez. I'm like, Jesse Hernandez isn't booking me. I don't have loyalty to a guy that doesn't book me. And even when he booked me, he paid me in a videotape I never got. So, and then Joe Cantrell would just like, he like show me footage of like, he got one of his guys booked on an EWF show, which was Jesse Hernandez's promotion. And then like 5 minutes in the match, the guy takes off his shirt and reveals like UWW, which is his promotion. And then like he runs out of the building into a car that's waiting to drive him off. It's like, are you serious? Like this fake like rivalry that
it was all in his mind.
That no one cares about. Like no fans are like, oh man, I'm gonna go check out that UWW now because that shitty guy in the opening match took off his shirt and had a UWW. Like, and then like he would like it would be like a game to him to see how much free stuff he could get from fast food restaurants just by complaining about how much, which is, and like he took me on a couple of these where he would just try and get free stuff just by like complaining that it's cold or it's whatever, and he just would stay in the drive-thru and he wouldn't leave until someone gave him something for free. So when years later he got banned from Walmart for life, it was not a surprise to me at all.
No. I bet you he still tries to sneak into Walmart and he just has a getaway car ready. I just need to buy this. Get the fuck out of here. Has any promoter ever tried to pay you in food?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a promotion in Sacramento that famously pays in hot dogs. And yeah, hot dogs. I've been paid in videotapes that I never got. Yeah, I don't think I got paid my first 5 years of wrestling. So,
holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, other than like a couple. I mean, I think I wrestled for you in that time.
Other than CALIFA.
But I mean, never paid in a way that I didn't lose money going to the show.
Yeah.
Because even coming to CALIFA, I still drove from Huntington Beach to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Or San Jose.
Yeah, I guess at first I didn't realize, like, I thought maybe you were like closer to John or who was in like Salinas area, I think.
Yeah.
But then it hit me like, oh no, this guy's from SoCal, and it's on Sunday.
Yeah.
He's probably got school or work the next morning.
Yeah, I'm sure I called in sick or.
Yeah, man, those are some good times though. Yeah, I think the craziest I've seen someone get paid is the nachos. But if they want a jalapenos, it was extra. Like you had to pay.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's your PO. You want jalapenos? That's 50 cents. Fuck. What has been one of the craziest fan interactions that you've had? Like someone trying to get in the ring with you, someone yelling at you, someone waiting for you after a show.
Yeah, I've had. So I mean, that's one of the things that I loved about wrestling lucha is the passion that I had, especially when I was a heel. I got people to really hate me. One time I was just like interacting with two drunk guys. I kicked the guardrail towards them, not even like near them, but like they got super pissed and they jumped the rail. But they were so drunk that they couldn't even like jump the rail without falling over it. So they just kind of like did a somersault over it, fell right on him, and then the referee just like tackled him right away. And then like Martin was the promoter, and he was like, he recognized they were just like super drunk, and he was like, no, don't. Like he was just trying to stop the entire locker room from clearing. Like he's like, no, just relax, everyone, calm down. Like, and then I've definitely had a couple times where someone was waiting for me after the show during that time, and they were just like, they were like, Omega, there's this guy just like pacing back there looking for you. I was like, okay, like I'm not worried.
Yeah.
So I just walked right by him without my mask on, because he's probably waiting for some Asian guy to come stepping through, or he thinks I'm going to come out wearing the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
one of the benefits.
It was always like a game for me. Like, oh, this guy's waiting for me. Let's see how close I can walk right by him and him not even notice.
Excuse me, sir.
Some random white guy. Don't worry about it.
Did you ever have to wrestle Rosa Salvaje?
Yeah. And I can definitely say I was very happy that I had the full mask cover.
Rosa Salvaje was like this exotico character from LA, but it wasn't as glamorous as like a exotico you would see on TV, like a Mayflowers, or it was just like some ripped up Daisy Dukes and just some old pink wig and whatever, Yeah. I mean, it was whoever they found at the time to play that gimmick.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you got to go out there and you got to kiss the wrestler, you got to kiss the ref.
You got not just, and then like, you have to let this guy kiss you. You also have to bump after you get kissed.
Oh yeah, boom, you get a kiss, boom. Actually, I think he's on one of these posters. Any embarrassing moments you've had at a show, during a match?
I mean, other than my first match, definitely. I mean, that was pretty embarrassing.
20-minute first debut match.
Yeah, 20. Yeah. I mean, like, going back to those American fans that are just waiting for something to make fun of you for. I once gave a tijeras to a guy who was wearing face paint, and then like I looked down and like my entire crotch is just all red, just like, and so yeah. So then I was like, oh, this is, I'm not getting out of this one.
Yeah, and you're wearing all white.
I'm wearing all white. And now my entire crotch is just all red.
Like, you guys have to hit us around the McDonald's. Have you ever had a serious injury or something that has affected your work life, has affected your personal life?
Yeah. I in 2007, I was just training with a guy. I was actually trying to teach him how to wrestle, and he was a big guy. He was like, he was closer to 400 than 300, and he was like tall. He's probably like 6'2" or 3, and I like told him to hit the ropes, and I was gonna give him like a big boot, Hulk Hogan style. Mm-hmm. And the ring that we were in was like, it was one of those shorty rings, and it was like super bouncy. So when I went to give him the kick, the whole ring was bouncing, and so my supporting leg bent backwards.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and that injury, I think my knee was still messed up for like 6 years. I didn't tear anything, which, if I tore something, I would have had surgery, and at least that would have given me a reason to like take time off. But since I didn't tear anything, I just like really strained it, and it just made the whole joint weak for years. And it was years of just randomly my knee would just give out, and I would just feel like my knee would just like slide like that every so often. I would just like bend down to pick up a piece of paper off the ground. My knee would just give out. It was always just like a scary feeling every time. And I had a job that required me to walk a lot, so it was a time where I had to really evaluate what was important to me.
Yeah. And
then I wrestled for 13 more years.
as one does.
Yeah.
What are some of the bigger opportunities you've had in wrestling, or some opportunities you wish you had? Like, I don't know, you've never been to Japan, right?
No, I never made it. I had early on, I had a lot of like close calls. Like, I got to wrestle, UPW hosted a 0-1 tournament that I got to be a part of. And like, I had a really good match, and everyone said like I had the best match of the night, but nothing really came out of it. And then that trip to Mexico, that at Toryumon. So in the main event that night, Martin, he got put in the main event. He wasn't supposed to be. He wasn't even planning on working, but like someone no-showed, so he had to fill in. It was Ultimo Dragon, Dragon Kid, and Masaki Mochizuki versus Bestia Salvaje, El Genio, and can't remember the third guy. But and then Ultimo, like after the match, the match happened, and then we go back to the Ultimo Dragon school, and Martin comes up to me, and he pulls me to the side, and he's like, "Do you know what Ultimo just told me?" He's like pointing me at the chest. He's like, "I'm going to take you to Japan." And inside I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm going to Japan." And then like 3 months later, Martin's in Japan, and I realized, oh, he was talking about himself. Ultimo was telling him he's taking him to Japan.
Oh shit. Did you hear what he just said?
But there was during that time there was we were going to become the Toryumon USA, which eventually became Dragon Gate USA on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But originally it was going to be LA based, and it was going to be Toryumon USA, and they were talking about having us become American versions of their wrestlers. And at the time, I was very, very skinny at the time, and they were going to have me be the American version of Milano Collection AT.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which would have been awesome. But wrestling, things happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long after that all the guys split from Ultimo and formed their own promotion called Dragon Gate. So that kind of put an end to any of those plans.
That would have been cool. Seeing you with the little invisible dog and shit.
Yeah.
It's funny because when Boone started doing his gimmick with what's his dog's name? Bernie?
Yeah, Bernie. BJ.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, dude, you're like a Milano Collection AT. And he goes, who?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
No, I love Boone.
Yeah.
Boone came out of our school.
Yeah.
We're sorry. No, I'm just kidding. Love you, Boone. Anything from the business that you found disappointing?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was in Mexico and when I was living in SoCal, like so close to like people that had made it, like I was like the lifestyle of people that who I felt like had made it, their lifestyle wasn't that glamorous. It kind of like made me be like, I don't know if I really want to pursue this as a full-time career. Like, there's the ones that make it and are super famous. I didn't see myself as one of them. I saw myself as like, I could be a mid-card guy. But yeah, just the lifestyle, especially in Mexico, seeing the way they work, like 6 days a week, and then like 2 or 3 of those days they're working 3 times a week or 3 times in the same day. Yeah. And it just felt so brutal to me that I'm like, I can't imagine like just how their bodies, I don't know how their bodies hold up, honestly.
Yeah.
And some of them just wrestle for so much longer than American wrestlers. I mean, it's definitely a much lower impact style, but
yeah.
And the fact that Negro Casas is still working blows my mind.
Yeah. And he's still he's putting out some great matches still.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just to wrap it up, so where do you stand now? Are you retired? Like, what are your plans? Are you coming back? Is wrestling even coming back?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm retired as any wrestler can be. I'm retired until anybody asks me not to be. I'm still helping train some students. I come and do some training at Stoner U. I kind of run a lucha class every couple weeks. Kind of do and it just kind of show them some stuff that I've picked up over the years, and that to me, training has been so much more fulfilling. Because in 2019, I announced my retirement, and then I retired from being a full-time wrestler, and I got messages from Shotzi Blackheart and Manny Favorino who I hadn't seen in months, because they moved somewhere. They're somewhere now.
They're doing something.
Yeah, but like both of them reached out to me and were like just really showed how the appreciation to me for like the stuff I've shown them, and that kind of invigorated me to kind of keep on training and keep on showing people how to do stuff, because that's way more fulfilling to me than going out there and wrestling and having a shitty match once a month.
Yeah, but that definitely will put a spark in your back. That you did contribute a lot. Sometimes you don't know it. Yeah. Even just I know I was talking shit about Boone, but just the fact that he made it to Hoodslam, a place that he wanted to be.
Yeah.
Even when he was training with us, that was his goal, to go to Hoodslam, and just seeing him make it to Hoodslam, what he wanted to do, and it's like, oh shit, we provided that for him. We helped him get to that spot. Yeah. It's like me and wrestling. That's why I resurrect so many times. Like, oh, I'm done doing shows. Hey, I'm back. A couple of years later, I remember one time. It was way after we did those CALIFA shows in San Jose that you worked with us, and you had just moved back. Then you were at Stoner U, and I remember walking in, and Chupi saw me. I went to go see Hoodslam, and Chupi saw me in the crowd. He's like, "Oh, come in the back, come say hi to the guys." And I walk in, and I see you, and you're like, "Oh shit, I forgot you were you existed." Yeah. It's like, "Oh fuck, that's right." He used to do shows and shit.
I'm really good at greetings.
Yeah. Oh shit, I forgot you existed. I'm like, "Hey, what's up, Shane?"
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for being on. Anything else you want to relay? Anything else you want to say?
No. Yeah. Thank you for having me on. This was great.
Yeah.
This is the most I've ever talked about myself in my life.
Yeah, no, this is great, man. Like I said, I'm interviewing friends in the business, people that I've known. I'm not really looking to be interviewing any people I don't know. Like, people have been asking me, "Oh, can you do this luchador? Can you talk to this guy?" I'm like, I don't know them. I'd rather interview people I know. So yeah, thank you, brother. It's always entertaining to see you wrestle, and I hope you come back.
We'll see.
I hope everything comes back.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully this ends soon.
Anywhere we can get these sweet Kid Omega t-shirts. I know you have a couple left, maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, I guess I could have shared that story with you. I have hundreds of those shirts still. Yeah. I could tell a brief story about that. So my brother works for a clothing company, and he emailing me back and forth, and he was like, "Hey, I got these designs. I can make 136 of these shirts if you want for this deal." And I'm like, "No way can I sell 136 shirts." Mm-hmm. What he read was, "No way, I could sell 136 shirts." so he doubled it, and now I was stuck with close to 300 of those T-shirts that in only 2 sizes, by the way, only large and extra large.
I'm glad I can still fit on mine. I've had it for years.
I have more if you need. I probably sold 20 of them.
Dude, and it's still like brand new. I've washed this a million times. I wear it all the time, and it's like, look at it. It hasn't lost its color.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on, man. Well, thanks again for doing this, and thank you everybody for watching Indy Handshake. I've been Jesus Cruz with Shane Omega, Kid Omega, whatever you want to call him, Scorpion. See you next time.